came on, and I'm like, Cool 98.3, good times and great oldies. And now me, David Allen Pratt. And I said, unfortunately, I have laryngitis. Maybe we'll have a contest today to see who can find my voice. Stay tuned. So that's pretty cool stuff. I printed out. Everybody asks me where I find these stories that I come up with and how do I choose what to talk about. Well, usually the weirdest stories or the stories that I think people might laugh at as hard as I do. Let's see. Now here's something about if you use a space heater or an electric blanket. It turns out that when you're...
Well, welcome to everybody. I want to welcome a great friend from days past, David Allen Pratt, from my days back in the AC area, and a DJ and radio personality in the South Jersey area. And with this technology we have now, we could say this is actually going coast to coast. So you're closer to the Atlantic coast as I am here to the Pacific. I'm about 35 miles from the Pacific, but you're what, Mays Landing?
I'm in Egg Harbor Township, so I'm basically 8 or 9 miles as the crow flies to the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes, well, welcome, David. I really do appreciate you coming on the. I think it's episode 3 of my new Karls Korner here. That's having some really interesting personalities of people that I've known in the past that are in different endeavors, different fields, and you as a radio DJ that I actually met. I actually worked almost 1 year at Cool back in 1999.
99, okay.
Under, was it Lauren, who was the general manager?
Lauren Dean, yes.
Yes, and John Rebel was a sales manager.
Right.
And got to do that. But then our affiliation, actually, the last time I actually ever saw you in person was our good friend Anthony. And actually, I guess we'll have to put up his picture first, where you were first part of them.
There he is.
What an amazing friend, person. He was a visionary. And we have to say the person on the left is Anthony Santinelli, and the person on your left will be his wife, Linda. And we have to talk about that iconic radio and, well, that TV station there that was based in Atlantic City. Yep. It was almost like a public access channel,
right?
But on the cable system, it reached all the way up into Camden County, like almost 2 million homes. And they bought the time. I'm actually trying to get Johnny Patillo on here because his schedule, he's in Florida, who had his Sunday night entertainment show. Yep. And they had their Sunday morning show talking about radio. And they had you on it as a special guest and talking about it. And, you know, and through his association, and then about a couple of years later, he got involved with the concert promotion. And we had you as our MC at Ocean City Music Fair for Charlie Gracie in June. Yep. And then Danny and the Juniors in September, actually Labor Day of 99. And this was the last time I actually saw you. And this is...
Look at that hair.
I know.
I look like Elvis.
I know. And I wish somehow I was able to get the footage of that day. And, you know, way things happen, like, you know, you forgot the guy's number or you didn't pay him or whatever. So I never had that. But then that's the last time I actually was in your presence. And 23 years later, 24 years later, I want to say thank you for doing an incredible job as just that host. What was your experience that day? I don't know. I was doing so many different things those 2 days with Charlie and then Danny. What do you think? You know, what did you think of those two? I think they were successful. Financially, no, but aesthetically, I think they were.
They were because, and me being, I mean, I'm 58 now. So when Charlie Gracie was on the charts, I wasn't even born yet. So I think it helps a little bit when you're a radio host and you meet these people and you don't have an idea of how huge they were, because that gets rid of the intimidation factor. So Charlie Gracie, it was just, you know, he and I were just chatting like old friends, you know, same with Joe Terry and the other guys from Danny and the Juniors. And I'll never forget my first 2 radio interviews in the studio. Paul Revere, who drove his own car from Atlantic City. Yep, there he is. And also Dion DiMucci. And I don't know why Dion and I never got a picture together, but Dion is something. He continues to write. He continues to record. Of course, he had all those great songs with the Belmonts, the Street Corner Harmony, up in the Bronx. And he told me this story about how he was asked if he wanted to go on the plane, that ill-fated flight that Buddy Holly and Richie Valens and the Big Bopper were on. And at the time, Dion was sending his parents rent money. So he couldn't see spending 2 months worth of rent on a plane, on a plane ticket. And the rest is history. I think there was something with Waylon Jennings. He was going to go, and the Big Bopper said, "Hey, I'll take your seat." And then, of course, just horrible. The day the music died, they call that. But it's just strange. It's strange how certain decisions and certain pathways that we take us to some real, just unbelievable places.
Well, like we mentioned before we came on the air, that just give a little bit of background, where you grew up, how you got into radio, and, a little bit more about you.
Well, and I can tell people that if they really want to know as much as possible, I will show you. This is my first journal ever. It says my diary, but you know what? Men don't keep diaries. Men keep journals. And the first one, my first entry is September 17th, 1980. So I've kept a journal for 40 years. And the great thing about that is I was able to go back and just get all these stories that I had forgotten about. And I put it in a book. And unfortunately, I don't have the book right here. I don't know if you have a picture of the book, but it's available at Amazon.
I'm showing you my journal. I'm showing you my journal, but with my green screen behind me is really not showing. But I have one too. Buddy. So yes. Go ahead.
Well, Karl had to chisel his, so it took a little longer.
Yeah.
To write.
Well, green screen's having a little problem.
Yeah, but it's available at Amazon. It's called "So When Are You Going to Get a Real Job?" 30 years and counting on the radio in South Jersey. So it really has my beginnings growing up. I grew up in a little town called Gillette, New Jersey. No, we did not make razors there. But one thing that I think helped us as a family, and our family just had so many good times together, so many great, great memories. We lived across the street from a chapel, the Gillette Chapel. And at the time, you didn't really appreciate it. But I'm telling you, we used to perform variety shows every year with we had a huge cast. It had a chorus. It had main characters. And my mother and my brother, they were usually right there in the middle, central characters. My dad played an end man in the show. My aunt was in the choir. So really, our whole family, we were integral to that chapel. And it was great. Like my mom on Sundays, whenever there was a wedding, she would have her coffee and sit out on the porch and watch the couples come out and everybody throw rice and stuff. So we got to see a lot of weddings across the street. But it was a great, great place to grow up. It was a small town. You've got cars everywhere these days. But we were a close-knit family. So family was important. The values that my parents gave me, just, priceless. And I used to walk to school and with the rest of the kids, and I used to hang out down the street, this a dead-end street called Johnson Avenue. We used to sit for about 5 or 6 years. I mean, every night in the summer, we were out playing any game you can think of. So I've always been very social. I've always liked being part of a large group, whether it be friends or in school or working. And I had the pleasure of Sorry, I'm stopping now. See, this is what happens when it's live, folks, because I'm not used to talking this this many
I don't want to
sentences
get
in
you
a
out of
row.
your. I didn't want to get you out of your. I didn't want to get you out of your element, but you're doing good. It's like, I know you, I would have always loved to have been with you, and then with Anthony, he was why didn't he get involved with it? But then continue. Then from your upbringing, how did you end up getting into radio, and then what got you
All
down
right,
to
we'll get
TV?
right, because I was talking
I'll put
about
you back on
school,
track.
my school life,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it was one day. I think I was in 5th grade, and I was really enamored with the announcements. They had announcements in school. So, one of the kids or one of the teachers would be in the office, and they would give the announcements at the beginning and the end of school. And I had always loved radio. The thing about Anthony Santinelli, see, he was from the New York area. So we used to talk like a lot of New York things, and he would take the bus and go up to CBS, New York. And he and I were actually supposed to take a trip up there. I was looking so forward to meeting guys like Ron Lundy and Harry Harrison and Dan Ingram. Dan Ingram, I grew up with. And I said, you know what? I think that's what I want to do when I grow up. And then that's where it started, in school, doing the announcements. When I got to high school, there was a person that was doing the afternoon announcements. They left. So I went and tried out, and I got it. So for about 2 years, did the morning announcements there. After I graduated, I went to County College of Morris up in Randolph, New Jersey. And my GPA was a 1.5 because I was at the radio station every day. I was either writing and reporting the news. Anytime someone couldn't make their shift. And here's the funny thing. You'll get a kick out of this, Karl. Back then, at the college level in a radio station, it was 6 blocks during the day. Once a week, you would have an hour and a half slot. So I was on from 12:30 to 2 every Friday afternoon. And that was it, hour and a half, once a week. So could you imagine when I finally got my first radio job? It was like, wait a minute, you every day for 4 or 5 hours? How am I going to, what am I going to talk about? But it came natural. I started afternoons in 1991 on Cool 98.3. There've been a few bumps in the road where I've left, and then been brought back by new ownership a couple of times. And then Allison Wing, who did mornings for a long time with Jerry Beebe, Allison was going to retire. And Jerry said, hey, Allison, why don't you do middays? And he asked me to move to mornings with him. And I had never done morning radio before, but I thought, you know what, this is fun, because I loved listening to Allison and Jerry.
Isn't this poster when Jerry came back? Wasn't he out and then he came back?
Yes, because I joined mornings with him, and then about 6 months later, he actually left because he and his wife purchased a store on the Ocean City Boardwalk called Seashore Photos. So that's what he was involved with. So then they got it was a girl named Kate Britton who came on with me. She's from England, and so we were on for a year, and then after that, Kate was let go. So I called Jerry and said, do you want to come back? And he said, sure. So then he came back. We were there for another year. And then we had an unscrupulous operations director who really kind of undermined my duties as program director. And then he just wanted to have his fingerprints on everything. And so I'll never forget, General Manager John Ford peeks in the studio one day and says, hey, when you guys are done, could you come upstairs to the conference room? I want to talk to you about a promotion we're thinking of doing. Well, it turned out to be the Let's Fire Dave and Jerry promotion. Go up to the conference room, and then one at a time, we were brought into the general manager's office, which, that was just weird in itself. But then I went across town to Millennium Radio, and I was working at Cat Country, and I was production manager for 2 years. And then the stations got sold, Cool, and we have WOND, the talk station.
Weren't they the original, the Green Group? Were they the Green Group when I was? They were the Green Group when I was there.
Yes, Howard Green still owned. Yeah, they were fantastic. Right. But then Howard passed away, and there was a myriad of people that came in. And John Ford had been general manager of TV. Did a great job there, not a great job in radio. But, so they let us go. Ratings went, they said they were going in a different direction, and boy, they did. But then 2 years later, another company bought the group of stations and brought Jerry and I back again for a third time. And then the stations got sold again about a year later, and we were let go. At one point, Jerry and I were actually making $75 a month each. And we were thinking, do we want to go into sales to try and make more money? But we wound up leaving. And actually, the way it worked out, we were able to collect unemployment. So that was a lot more than we were making there. And then again, I went back to Cat Country. I was doing Sunday afternoons, part-time, once a week. And then Longport Media purchased the group. That was South Jersey Radio. South Jersey Radio was Brett.
That was FPG. That was FPG, right?
No, that was Brett had been over with ZXL, AYV, and then they put a group together. Yeah, and put South Jersey together. And a lot of people left AYV and ZXL to go over to MGM and Cool. But this iteration, the latest one, of which I've been there 11 years now, is Longport Media. I'm sorry. It's much more than radio, Yeah. But yeah, it's been 10 years now. The first 5 years I co-hosted with Tina Owen, and people from the Atlantic City area will remember Al Owen, her father, who used to be on WOND. And, I'm right down the hall mornings from Don Williams. Don Williams he's been there forever. For the longest time, it was Don in the morning, and then Barbara Altman, and then Pinky Kravitz. Don is still Pinky there, And next door to me, 103.7 WMGM Rocks, it's Matt Murray in the mornings. Now we're both solo. We each had a partner for like the first 5 years, but now, Tina left to go to radio in Florida at Flagler Beach. She's now back in the area, and boy, is she smart, working for South Jersey Gas Company. So she's doing well. She and I keep in touch. And Matt had a partner named Carly, and now he's on there. It's a lot tougher doing a show on your own, especially a morning show. And you try not to laugh out loud at yourself too much. But you see the gas gauge, I'm skipping so that my gas gauge is going a little low here. My sugar's dropping. I'm usually asleep at this time in the afternoon.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it to do this, but I have to for people maybe who are out here watching this at different areas of the country. Eventually, Atlantic City market, because I'm a radio guy, I'm a media guy, but you're still getting most of all your television from the Philadelphia market, but the Atlantic City market is like 60 to 70, depending on if you go down to Cape May. 90 miles from there. So it's what was the actual market number? About 135th or 140th, in the country. It's a little niche market, for
the last I knew, the last I was told, and this was a while ago, so maybe we moved up, but I thought it was like 237. That's something we can look up, but
yeah, but I was wondering, I thought it was still in the hundreds, but anyway, for people, in other metro areas, it was just a little niche market, a radio station all up and down the coast. And I know they all went all the way up, even north, up into Tom's River and almost into the New York market.
Right.
They all had their own little niche up there, but it was unique because it was a community with the personalities and people. And then you just did not just do, on the radio, you did they used to call them the live remotes. And all it was they had their cell phones back then, and they would call in, I'm here at this car dealership, blah, blah, blah. Right. They're not actually there they're really not actually there with a tent and spinning records there. No, they're just, you're there with a phone, but that was marketing back then,
Right.
So it's just interesting. Here's one that I found, one of your pictures. I don't know where this was from.
Oh yeah, that's out at the Walk in Atlantic City, and they had line dancers there, and that is Kim Butler, who she was in charge of public relations for the walk. She has had stints on WMGM and Cool 98.3 as well. And so we were out there promoting all the specials that were going on out at the walk. It was a store-wide discount day. And so, the line dancers were there for a little fun. And we had the cool convertible out there. We used to have a classic convertible. And that was a lot of fun. But Karl, the big difference now is that we are hardly out in front of people anymore. And that's what I miss. I miss the connection with the listeners. You speak with them on the phone if they happen to call up and win a contest, or if they tell you made a mistake. They're really good at that. Make a mistake, and then you'll get phone calls, and you won't be lonely. My favorite is when all the power goes out and the phone rings, and somebody says, "Do you know you're off the air?" "Oh no, I had no clue." Let me go check it out for you. Thank you. But I miss that. I miss the social. And that's why, what? I was supposed to have a job interview today for a coffee shop. And you and I were talking about Alexa Trishler, and she does the weather on our station remotely. And you said she's down in New Orleans. And guess what? I'm sure she loves PJ's Coffee. That's down in New Orleans. That's where that originates. And now they're coming up to Linwood. So they're going to be like a mile from the station. So I'm applying to be a barista or assistant manager, whatever they need, so that I'll get off the air at 10 and head over there and have a social day with everybody, pouring coffee. And, because it's all about community, and
now how come you can get a job at this place?
Oh my
Krabby's.
gosh. You know what? I would eat the profits. When I was younger, I got a job as a car hop at Stewart's. And at the end of every week, I swear, and my mom could attest to this, but I would owe them money because I would eat almost every day. I had shrimp in the basket at Stewart's. Of course, not just a hot dog, but I'd have to go for the high ticket items. And then by the end of the week, I would owe them money. So, unfortunately, I lost both my parents 2 years ago, within a month of each other. Now, that's kind of a great love story because, Dad didn't have to be without Mom for long, but on the day that my brother called and said that Mom passed away, I had to call and order takeout, and I did get shrimp in the basket for my mom. But those are things you remember. Lots of great memories.
For that market, describe Krabby's. I know it was in there. It's like you don't go for the ambiance. It's just like Schmitty's over there in Summers Point. That's what I miss. You don't have a lot of that type of iconic places. There's a lot of nice places here, but the Jersey Shore, especially Charlie's and all of that I do miss, but yeah, it's interesting. I have a picture here. I wonder how far does this go back, David?
Oh my gosh. Look at that mullet, folks. That I believe was 1990. I don't know. That could have even been 2000. Maybe anywhere between 99 and 02, because that room now is the producer's room for WOND. That was the production room for pretty much all the stations. And then I moved down the hall. They switched the studios. So Don moved from the one station down the hall, and we went and took over that studio. And I can't even remember why. I can't even remember why we did.
Everything's still in Linwood, right?
Everything's at Linwood. Yeah, everything is still there. Still there.
Now, what have they done with the old TV studio?
Hey, let's take a look at the forecast. Currently 87 degrees, humidity 41%, winds out of the southeast at 7 miles per hour. That's right. That's my rehearsal tape. I actually did TV weather on News Channel 40 for about 3 months. The guy who was doing it left for college, and they didn't have anybody. So truth be told, I went to BAM, the bookstore, Books A Million, and I got weather forecasting for dummies, and I learned as much as I could, and I would go in there right after, being on mornings. Funny story, Karl. I don't know if you got the picture of me sitting at the desk, but there were at least 80 TVs behind us. And stations did that to make themselves, I don't know, it just looks more professional with a whole bunch of TVs on the back wall, and they all had something different on there. Well, someone caught it. I don't know how, but I guess somebody had Showtime on one of them, and there was some adult content playing. Now, it was probably like the lower corner TV, but somebody saw it, and I think you can see them going over, and they were just changing the channel. But it was great. You know, I got to go on there, do the weather, and then I would come and sit with the anchors. And the last story was always fun. It was always something where I could throw a pun in there. Like one time they were talking about a new species of zoo that they had down at the Cape May Zoo, and they were going to be able to teach it tricks or whatever. And all of a sudden it's so quiet, and I just said, "Wart's next." And they were all like, "Ah," and the sports guy was like, "Oh no!" And I said, "Hey, he told me to say that." So it was a little bit of the morning show coming out in TV weather. But I'm so lucky to have had all of these experiences, and like I said, I write about them in my book. Now, and the cool thing is, if you don't like to sit and read, you can get the audio book. You can get it audio book. You can get the ebook. You can get it paperback. And again, it's called So When Are You Going to Get a Real Job? It's available at Amazon.com. It's got a whole chapter dedicated to when I thought I was going to be, a rock star. We had a band, and just the trials and tribulations of that band. You can read it and go, "Oh my gosh," and a lot of things that have happened in my life. It's, my mom always said, she's like, "You know what? If we tried to sell this as a sitcom, nobody would believe it." But all true and all wonderful. And, every day I feel my parents with me, and, they're the ones that have given me the talent to do what I do. I've got a few books that I've narrated on Audible, and I do these scripts for Aztec Software. It's learning lessons like math and English. And then my old partner, Jerry Beebe, and we actually do a podcast. So we do a little cross promotion. It's called porkroll.com. That's the name of the show. It's called Pork Roll with Dave and Jerry. Nothing says South Jersey like pork roll. It's not.
Well, you have to describe
that's North Jersey.
You have to describe what pork roll is to our non-Jerseyites, because the first thing. Now, when I went back in May, I was only back for 4.5, 5 days.
Okay.
And I think I stopped at Wawa 6 times out of that. And the first thing I got is pork roll sizzly.
Oh, so yeah.
You have to describe what pork roll is.
Well, pork roll, or otherwise known as Taylor ham, it's kind of hard to describe. It's like because I go to a local diner, and they've got eggs Benedict a couple of different ways. So Taylor ham isn't really ham, but they call it pork roll. I guess it's from a different part of the bovine.
I call it high end bologna.
Yeah, you could say that, but it's absolutely delicious, especially when the slices are thick cut. And I usually go to the diner, I get it on a hamburger roll with the sesame seeds, and they put like a slice of American cheese in between, and it's a gut buster. I've battled, I've been on Weight Watchers now for a couple of years, and I just got right back on it after we got back from a cruise. We were just on a 7-day cruise to the Bahamas. And, a cruise, it's like, hey, I paid for this. I'm going back up to the buffet again. I'm going to order, escargot and shrimp cocktail every night, and 2 or 3 entrees and desserts. And where else can you go at 1 o'clock in the morning when you can't sleep? You go down and grab a pizza and go eat it out on your balcony. Cruising is fantastic. It's the ultimate.
I know. As I've been following you since the Facebook era back in 2010, and I've been following you and your lovely family, and I have to, congratulate you on, your wife, your daughter, and how she's grown and all that. And, it's great that as I've gotten older and I've gone through tragedy and lost a stepdaughter and things, and it's great that you have that rock as a family too. So it's not all professional. You do have a great, family life, which is great for you too, buddy.
Well, thank you. I mean, that says a lot for what goes on, personally. And, Nicole and I just have a wonderful relationship. She is my rock. She is my best friend. We laugh together every day, every night. I mean, I'm usually, a little bit funnier, but she'll come out with some zinger every once in a while. I laugh, and those are the times you just say, I love you so much, and what can I say about Mary? I mean, she's growing into such a wonderful young lady. She's a sophomore in high school. She's playing volleyball, both for the school. They're 13-3, go Cedar Creek. She's on JV, and then she's also made the travel team, and she still wants to play community soccer. So, she's all honors, and she takes on a lot, but she knows how to deal with it. And between the four of us, because my ex Ann and I, both have being remarried, the four of us have a real special relationship. It's not 100%, roses all the time, but you know what? It could be a lot worse. You see it on Judge Judy all the time. These people that have to meet at the police station in order to drop the kids off or whatever. But we get Mary every Wednesday night. Today's a Wednesday. She'll be here tonight, and then every other weekend. But it's funny the way it happens, because there will be, like, one of my family members will have a birthday on a weekend that it's usually Ann's time, but we'll be like, could we take her on Saturday, bring her back late? She'll say, yeah. Or it'll be one of her family members on our weekend. So it always works out, but this way, Mary has twice as many people that love her, but you know what? She also has twice as many people to go on a cruise with.
Yeah. That's really wonderful. I know we're getting down to, like, we in like 32 minutes, another 10 minutes, but I know you were mentioning meeting through the concert I promoted, Charlie Gracie, Danny and the Juniors. But I know I have one picture on here. I'm trying to get schedule Johnny Patillo, here's one with his right-hand man,
Tony Orlando.
Tony Orlando. So besides Tony and Charlie and Danny and the Juniors, who's all the other people that you've met throughout the years that were personalities, especially with Atlantic City coming into, through all the casinos and performing? And I wish I took a picture with Pat Cooper when Anthony had Pat Cooper. We drove him down to back to Atlantic City from northern Jersey. But who else have you met?
Pat Cooper. Wow. It's funny. Most of my interviews, which if you go to soundcloud.com/David Allen Pratt, I think all of my interviews are up there. And I have to say that, some of the memorable ones on the phone, Joan Rivers, Gilbert Gottfried, the guys from Impractical Jokers. Again, that's like a New Jersey, New York thing, but I'm sure people have all seen episodes of that. Hal Linden, Anson Mount, Hell on Wheels. What a great show. There's just so many. I should have printed out the list, but it's in my book, like all the people. But I have to say, I think two of my favorite people that I've ever met, one was Don Rickles, and he had media folk. He was at resorts, and he had a bunch of media people there beforehand. And I got to sit on the couch with him and chat with him a little bit. And we were talking about everything from Dean Martin roasts to CPO Sharkey, to when he broke Johnny Carson's pencil box on the Tonight Show. Look that up on YouTube, because that's a lot of fun. But
that's all I do is watch those iconic ones with him on Carson, especially. And when Carson went into him when he was doing 3PO, I always remember, like, can I get in there?
That's right.
Right into the store.
That's right. He went right in there, because the night before is when he broke his pencil box, and the look on Rickles' face.
He brought that from New York. He brought that from New York.
Yeah.
David, I have to mention, this is not a one interview and that's it. I would love maybe to have you down here, maybe on a monthly basis. And if you have any pictures of Rickles or any, in your archives, please dig them up. And we'd like to do a subsequent interview down the road. That's why, you're you're not retired. You're still on the air. You're still doing this, but you have all this. 45 minutes is not going to encapsulate everything that you've done. Now, you mentioned
Right.
Don Rickles. I've seen him twice live. I've seen Rodney Dangerfield, all the classic comics, but the people you have. So if you could dig up pictures, if you have any kind of video,
Oh yeah.
let me know. And the next time we'll have you on again and really dig into those people.
Yeah, some of the pictures are in the book. I know the picture with Rickles is in the book. I think it's on my radio page, Facebook. Just go to David Allen Pratt radio page. There's lots of great memories there. But I would be remiss if I did not. Probably my favorite person to meet, only because just seeing my mother's face when she got to meet him. I did a radio interview with Ray Romano, and this was right after the first season of Everybody Loves Raymond. And my mother, that was like one of her favorite shows of all time. So I surprised her. And when he was at Tropicana, we got tickets for Mom and Dad to come down and see Ray. So not only were we able to come down and see him, but we all got to meet him afterwards backstage. So my mom was just floored. And I have a picture. It's not hanging up in my room right now, but it's actually down the basement. But, it says something like, "Dear Dave, it was great seeing you. See you next time, Ray." And it was like a photo of the TV family of his. But here we go, backstage, and Ray's like, "All right, here's my mom and dad. This is Dave from the radio station and his parents." And we're sitting there chatting like we're old friends, And I swore I heard Ray's brother out back going, "Everybody loves Raymond." Brad. Yeah, I think they chased him off, but yeah, that was, it's moments like that you remember. And every morning, I get up, and no matter what's going on personally, it's my job to make sure people wake up with a smile. I always say, wake up on the right side of your radio. And, there's enough stuff going on. I mean, you could talk 12 hours about the Middle East, and people will watch their news about that. But if you want to escape, and you can check it out. You could listen live online. It's www.kool983.com. And you can listen live. So, 6 to 10, Monday through Friday Eastern. Check out the show and get a little chuckle.
Yeah, and anybody down the road, because I know I just started. This is my episode 3, and it's my little scroll down below. If you like, you could subscribe, because we will be on Facebook. Yes, and you could go on the YouTube page, and because this is taped, it's not live. Because I realize trying to do live, you have too many technical difficulties that happen. But yeah, David, this has been wonderful, and I would love to maybe schedule another time or two and go into other areas, because when I wanted to do this Karls Corner, there's too many of the today's news and who you with, left, right, whatever. I just like wash my hands of it, because nobody's going to agree unless whatever. I'm going to do good news, good happy stuff. There's a lot of great people out there with whatever endeavor they're in. They're all remarkable. My first one, a great friend that I met out here, Jonathan Taylor. He's a classical guitarist. Yep. He plays modern music on a classical guitar, and he's toured over the world. So he was a lot of amazing people here, but I realized I knew a lot of amazing people back east, and that's why if I could get Johnny on, and you probably remember Joe Rickey, who used to be out there too, and he's now in New York, Pennsylvania. He agreed he would love it, and some other people. So it's I appreciate you coming on, and you let me know. I would love to hear more stories, especially of Rickles, because he was the number one. He
was getting ready to, we were wrapping up the media day, and Don was going, and he was just like, "I want to thank all of you for coming. And Dave, keep playing that Hungarian rap music." So, how he was.
You think he would really be able to survive today? No, he wouldn't be able to survive.
No, and you know what? I think there was a time for everything, but I have to admit that, and a lot of people feel bad about people being woke. I'm glad we're woke in some ways, because you look back at some of the things that were, it's like, I don't know. I don't know how some of that got on TV. just derogatory terms towards people. So in that sense, but I don't know. Some people think, okay, why take down the Confederate statues? Because it's part of history, but some people are like, well, why are we celebrating them? So maybe you just put a plaque, but you don't forget where we came from. And, so because they say sometimes if you know where you came from, you make sure you don't go there again. I mean, when we were in school, as kids, it's almost like the Civil War was sensationalized, because when you're a kid, you're watching these army movies and you're watching cowboys and Indians. And then you grow up and you're like, oh, okay, here's what really happened. And it's very sad. It's very sad that the United States at one point was like two different countries. And
well, I'm on a. It's interesting you mentioned that, and I've been on. I have TV actually through YouTube, and they've been trying to get me back for like the last year. And now that it's football season, they enticed me to get the package because they have now the football package. But they said, "Oh, we'll give you 4 months of HBO." But you know what?
Hey, there you go.
But you know what it is? I watched from 2008. John Adams did. It has to be one of the greatest docudramas ever produced about the founding fathers, about Adams, Washington, Jefferson, Ben Franklin, how they were able to really, through all adversity, make the country who it is today. Now, we all realize they said, if you could keep it, but watching something like that was amazing. But I want to keep this lighthearted. We could agree to disagree, but whatever. But David, I want to thank you for really coming on and giving me that notice, 7:30 my time. And I said, I'll arrange this for David.
I forgot about the time difference. Sorry.
No, but my schedule now is very flexible that I can work things out. That I don't have a specific time to be at the dealership, and I'm kind of cool 98.3. But yeah, if you
there's no point now.
What's that?
It's just cool 98.3. There's no point. That's what I
really?
tell people. Yeah, it's just cool 98.3. Yeah.
Yeah, forget the point. Yeah. But anyway, I would love to have you back on again down the road. And if you have any of these other things about some of the great people you've met over the years, we'd love to do this. And maybe on a monthly basis, I'm going to be trying to get Linda on. I know Linda is now a teacher in Atlantic City. And she's still at James Candy, and try to get her on there and, maybe reminisce about those good old days, because they were great in their own way,
They were. And remember, if she's on the show, I want to see it on the Chiron. You have to spell it Linder because it's Linder. Remember that. That's always how Anthony said it. Come on, Linder.
We could do a whole show.
Wonderful guy, Anthony.
We could
too many people over the years, that we've lost, and it's going to be a heck of a party when when you and I, knock on wood, long time from now, but it's going to be a fun time up there whenever we get there.
It's amazing, Red. He's gone 19 years now. He died in 2004.
Oh my gosh!
At 47. Wow. So yeah. So on that closing, not that it's a downer, but I wish Linda would be able to transfer some of those tapes to VHS, from the VHS tapes to over. We could actually show it, but he was an iconic guy. Got me motivated doing some things. And one day he said, because he didn't drive, he was one of the unique people that didn't have a license.
Took the bus, everywhere.
Took the bus everywhere. And then, you want to go to, let's go to Vineland. I said, what are we going to Vineland for? Because he was buying time on 92.1 on a Friday night, and I went, and it was great. And then going to New York, we went to New York with Lou. Did you know Lou Costello?
I've heard of him. I think I met him once.
Yes, he was a DJ and whatever. I think he's on 92.1 out of Vineland.
Yep.
But it was Memorial Weekend. I think it was, 98, 99. And fine, we went up there on a Sunday night, and went up to the CBS building, and we looked, and it was Don K. Reed, his overnight shift.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the late 70s when I graduated college, I was looking for, I couldn't get a job in the field for whatever reason. I won't get into that. And I went to New York one day with applications when everything went to the CBS building. And here I am, maybe 15 years later, just walking in. Okay, Mr. Gunn, go up the elevator. You're in the studio.
Right.
And it was
Right.
It was amazing. And I know I have video of that, but Linda might have it. But yeah, they're great memories and all that. But on that note, anything final promotions for your books or whatever? Because we're going to put this on Facebook. We're going to put it on a YouTube channel. So what do you want to plug, David, before we leave?
Well, before I do that, just following up on your conversation that you just had, I know there's a picture on the radio page of Mike Russell, who hired me, and myself with Don K. Reed. He and Anthony actually came, I think it was a station holiday party. And here comes Don K. Reed walking in. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. But you were saying you wish you had tapes. I have 2, maybe 3 of my appearances on WWAC, because that's where I got the screenshots from. And I do have software that can transfer it from VHS to DVD. So I will make a point in the next week or two. I'll first of all try to find them, and then I'll see if I can do that, and then and send them down to you.
Well, actually, there's one here that I'm just looking at with Don Rickles, but I figured, let's just leave all this for, another episode, because we could have 2 or 3. We could have like a monthly visit right. with you, and I would appreciate it. And, we could go from there rather than try to squeeze it in. Now we'll do another one. We have no expectations, and it's a wonderful medium. And then, all right, getting back as we're going to close this session out. What would you like to promote?
Just promote again. If you want to listen online, check out the show Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern. And that's Kool, KOOL 983.com. And you just hit the listen live button. Thankfully, there's no camera in the studio. I'm still, getting the cobwebs out. And also the book, Amazon.com. 30 years of great radio memories. Growing up, I know a lot of people, with great childhoods can relate. And there's just a lot of great stories in there. And I was lucky, like I said, to, keep a journal for 40 years and was able to remember and compile and put this stuff in. Matter of fact, every 2 years, and I'm coming up on that, I like to reread, my journals and what was going on. It's interesting because it starts when I was 15,
I started at like 26 or 27 with one, and I have it right here. I'm going to be noting our interview in today's notes.
Nice. So I'll do the same.
Yes. David, I can't thank you enough. I think this turned out really well, better than I thought. You're a great guest. You're a great host. And let's do this again sometime soon. Let me know if you have any of those videos that you have that we could put in here. You can send it to me and we could run the clips and talk about some of the guests, because I would say 99% of them are all gone. But I think, with us still being around to remember them would be wonderful, though. So for everyone that's watching, we're going to be on Facebook and YouTube, and, subscribe, any comments. And until next time, thank you again, David. And we'll talk to you sometime soon.